What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Thursday, November 17th, 2022 edition of the Daily Energy Stand-Up, brought to us by Energy News Beat, the world's greatest website. As always, I am your humble correspondent, Michael Tanner, coming to you from an undisclosed location here in Dallas, Texas, joined as always by the executive producer of the show, the purveyor of the show, and the director, founder, and publisher of the world's greatest website, EnergyNewsBeat.com, Stuart Turley. It's been a busy week.
Oh, I've been brutalized already. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. We got a lot of fun.
Yeah, we've got a great show for you guys lined up today. Stu's going to talk. We're going to be over at Germany for a couple stories. First, talking about their first new LNG terminal that they're going to build to replace a lot of the stuff that's getting left behind by Nord Stream 1. But the real question is with what cash? Because another story we're going to be covering is looks like Germany's preparing for cash calls run on the banks. So that should be very interesting due to low oil prices. Stu will cover it all. Diesel prices are continue to go through the roof. Looks like he's got some depressing news that it's only going to go higher. And then we have a sobering assessment. There's a basically the large parts of the U.S. are at risk of outages during extreme weather, according to the Natural Electric Reliability Council. Start buying blankets, folks. That's apparently what the news is coming out, but we will cover all of that. Very little on the finance side other than EIA confirms and actually beat the crude draw that we saw yesterday at the API, 5.4 million barrels. That only supported oil prices after kind of an overnight tumble. We will cover all that and a bag of chips later. But first, guys, as always, every story you hear, every piece of analysis that you hear from here, and all of the news and the world's greatest news is available on the world's greatest website. And the sponsor of this show, EnergyNewsBeat.com. Check it out. Link is in the bio. Stu does a great job of making sure that website has the most pertinent energy news from a geopolitical standpoint. From a finance side, I take that up. But from every single angle, we have you covered in the energy business. Check us out, www.energynewsbeat.com. All right, we're heading over to Germany, Stu. Seems like things are going a little crazy over there.
Oh, it is absolutely nuts. And this one is going to be very interesting from a standpoint. I got a couple questions for you on this. German inaugurates their first new LNG terminal. And I got to hand it to them. This is positive in a sense that they're in a world of hurt, Michael, and yet they're able to pull this off. How many days was this? This is not very long. I saw the days. 194 days. 194 days to put a regasification plant in. And they've got another one coming on in December, and then they have another 3 coming on in 2023. And that's going to be able to make up for an estimated 30 to 50% of the Russian gas. Outstanding job from the folks from spinning that up. Let me ask.
It claims it's only going to take 6 months of construction to do an inbound floating LLG terminal.
Right. I'm impressed. Now here's the thing. Who's going to give them the LNG?
Unfortunately, you've asked a good question, which probably nobody's considered.
Well, now think about it. Russia 2 months ago was selling their LNG to China. China was then turning it back around, and that was going to Europe. So the U.S. is not going to be able to pump out any more than we're doing because of regulations, because of Freeport being held back a little bit. Think about this. We have got to put the gasification in line in order for them to take advantage of this, because anyway, so I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Applaud to the German government. They're doing,
they got that going for them.
The real question is, with your next story, with what money?
You remember Chevy Chase in Caddyshack when he's sitting there and he was golfing with the Dalai Lama, and the Dalai Lama was a big hitter, and he goes, how about my tip for my troubles? And the Dalai Lama goes, you will have total consciousness on your deathbed. They're getting total consciousness right now when they realize they're going to have to run out of money and everybody's going to be hitting the banks. Let me get to this one. Unbelievable. The power crisis is coming up, and we gave them a good dog for recovering quickly, but we still got, it's going to be 2 years, 3 years, I guarantee you, before they get out of the woods here. And they've now, here's a big line in here, Michael. Roughly 60% of the everyday Germans purchase are paid in cash. That's a cash society. Here's the other thing. If there is a power outage, this is critical. If there is a power outage and the banks are robbed on the way to the ATMs, the insurance does not cover it.
So what are you implying?
I'm implying that you and I are going to Germany and we are going to rent us a thing. We're going to be like Jean-Claude Van Damme, and we're going over there and, anyway.
Ocean's 14.
Oh, was it Ocean's 14? Yeah, here we go. I was reading this and I'm like, oh my goodness, why would you want, okay, I like cash. Cash is king, but you're not going to be able to spend it because you're not going to be able to get it because there's going to be power. I mean, which came first, the power or the ATM?
Listen to this. This is another point that I was reading. Where did it go? Right here. 40% of Germans fear a blackout in the next 6 months. That's not good on just national sentiment.
And 60% of Germans use cash. So there's 20% of Germans in there that don't think about power. Sorry, that was some bad math. Okay. Moving right along here to the next one. We are just having a lot of fun. Now, when you take a look at energy crisis going on, you mentioned in your earlier comments that there was a draw against inventories. And over the last 3 weeks, we've also heard everybody, we only have 28 days left in the diesel. And then I had said this was coming around, didn't I, for a while now, that this is going to come around to the gasoline, and we're here. In this article, the title is Diesel Price Premium to Gasoline and Crude Hits Record High. The diesel price premium to gasoline and crude has hit a record high due to low stockpiles and low refining capacity. As we said the other day, we have lost 2 million barrels a day. We're down to 15 million barrels a day of refining capacity.
Yep.
So, and then going forward, the supply in the diesel in the US and globally is set to tighten even further with the EU embargoes. Now, remember, all of our fans are out there going, when is the first one coming in? It's the first week in December. Second set of caps and everything else is in the, I think, first week of February. And that is going to impact diesel because it's going to be the refined products also.
Yeah.
So I've got some more information on that here in a little bit. Then
we were at as you mentioned, 3.5 million barrel a day refining capacity has been closed down since the start of the pandemic.
Right.
That's all you need to know about the situation we're in right now.
Okay.
With diesel prices.
Okay. Our discussion yesterday, Michael, was what is worse, demand destruction or lack of supply? That first million
convinced me it's demand destruction.
Okay. The first million of that 3 million, Michael, was under Trump's era, and it was COVID. It was demand destruction based on COVID. Guess what the next one was?
Just
leftover
the
COVID,
green movement.
The green movement, and under the new administration got the other two.
Yeah, this show's going green, by the way. So heads up,
we love green. We honestly, we don't care. I just had a great conversation today with Deborah Wald. She's the CEO of Green Lily, And I'm looking forward to that podcast because she can produce diesel.
Oh, we got some
cheaper.
breaking news, Stu. Ding, ding, ding. Little breaking news.
Breaking news. What?
Diamondback and literally coming across the ticker as we speak. Diamondback Energy acquires Laredo Permian 1.5 billion.
Ooh, what's a
Ooh.
billion between friends?
What's a billion between friends?
Nice.
So we'll have that we'll cover all that tomorrow, but talk about real-time news. Gotta love it.
Oh yeah, you gotta love it. Next article coming around the corner is a sobering assessment. Since you graduated with your master's, you don't have to worry about that one too much. A sobering assessment: large parts of the U.S. at risk for outages during extreme weather, from the NERC. Okay, that is the
National Electricity Reliability Council.
oh boy, who would have figured that? Yeah, I'm like, hi, I'm the CEO of that.
It's not good when the Electric Reliability Council is saying we need to prepare for large blackouts. That doesn't help me sleep at night.
They're supposed to be the watchdog. They've been asleep. So somebody's been letting that dog sleep for a little bit.
And now I live in Texas, where apparently if it gets below 50 degrees, the entire state shuts down.
Oh, well, here was another one I recorded with the vice president over at Inveris today as well. And he had 3 studies on ERCOT. We got a bunch of information on ERCOT and the grid from Inveris. So
not to plug the podcast, but go listen to the long form interviews that Stu has, some of the best in the business.
Oh, thank you. I'll pay you later. And so the Southeast has lost 500 megawatts of generating capacity while demand has increased to a year ago. Power plants in the region have lower than normal coal stockpiles. Biden the other day was saying he wants to shut down the coal, but they haven't built the other side of it. And it's like, and then I was able to visit today on the podcast, and we talked about storage and how good storage could fit in to help the renewables. And we talked about that a little bit yesterday. So we got a bunch of stuff coming around the corner on that. The grid watchdog is in the early stages of developing reliability standards that would require generators to assess their fuel needs over a 5-year planning period and a 1-year operational. Are they operating a little late on that one, Michael, or am I just late to the party?
Yeah, I mean, this depresses me. There's only one way to say it. This is extremely depressing. Like,
why is that?
Like, I'm gonna go start chopping wood now. Maybe instead of in our last iteration of the show, we joked that we were gonna have branded branded wheelbarrows because of inflation. Now we need branded axes so we can chop our own wood to heat ourselves.
Well, that was because there wasn't enough tankers, and you and I were going to get the Energy News Beat tankers. We were going to fill our bathtubs up back then. Oh, absolutely. We got to have some. Oh yeah. And then anyway, we got a lot of good fun things that are going on. Anyway,
what else? Is that everything from your end?
That was it from my end, and it's off to you, dude.
Yeah, I mean, pretty quiet in the overall markets today. Crude oil, I guess, from the open, talking about last night, took a little tumble, currently trading 85.60, but we were all the way down to 84.30. We saw about $1 bump due to the fact that the EIA came out and did drop crude oil inventories. As we mentioned, commercial crude inventories down 5.4 million barrels. The SPR released about 4.1 million last year for an aggregate draw of about 9.5 million. So big draw numbers. Again, we expected on the commercial side only 2.4 or 2.3 million barrel draw based on the EIA yesterday. So lots of movement in the crude oil side, some short-term support there for all the bulls, but yikes, domestic production stayed fairly flat at 12.1 million barrels, and refining percent utilization stayed fairly flat, up about 0.8 of a percentage point to 92.9. East Coast still operating about 102 percentage points in terms of percent utilization. So very spicy going on in the refining world, as you know, and we just covered. Natural gas currently trading $6.20 even. That's up about 2.7 percentage points in the open. Again, it's that Northeast. I just saw, I'm a sports guy. I just saw that the Monday night, it's the Bills game this weekend. I don't know who they're playing, but it could get over 3 to 6 feet of snow. And I checked because I was like, feet? They must be. Nope, it's feet. It's not a typo. No. So that'll be an insane game. And a lot of what's causing, I think, this short-term natural gas pressure. Again, we're still waiting on the Freeport LNG. I'm going to keep saying that until I'm blue in the face. They did come out, speaking of Freeport, they did come out with a very interesting press release today. They specifically did not mention when they're going to release, but they did tell they also, where is it? Oh yes, here we go. So basically they vowed to ramp up staffing by more than 30% in an effort to improve safety and performance. But again, the company did not address its relaunch timeline. So they claim they're going to be staffed up, which is going to be good because when that thing opens, we about to be pounding through it. XOP, which is our EMP securities contract, are up about 2.9 percentage points. OIH, which are oilfield services, dropped 2 percentage points. Again, that's more in line with overall markets. SPY was down about basically a full percentage point. NASDAQ trading down 1.45 percentage points. Retail sales, as I mentioned yesterday, drops this morning. Actually, we saw an increase. We had an expectation of 1.2 percentage points. We came in about 1.3 percentage increase for weekly retail sales. So you'd think that would raise markets up. But I think there's this broader FTX issue going on, and Target came in with lower than expected earnings and sort of signaling that they see themselves less of a big pop this Christmas than otherwise normal. So I think that, when you specifically go look at what analysts are citing, they cite Target data more than they do weekly retail sales, which tells you what everyone thinks about the data that the government drops. So I'll let you make your own conclusions from there. But otherwise, fairly quiet on the markets. As I mentioned, I'll read you the highlights here. Really, the only other thing is, the update that came out that said Diamondback is buying Laredo Permian, $1.5 billion. To kind of read you the highlights here, it's an all cash and stock deal. Adds 83,000 net acres and approximately 500 high quality drilling opportunities. I'm doubtful there's 500 high quality drilling opportunities, but we will see. Let's, I'll give you a bigger bit of rundown tomorrow on that, but all hands out. Diamondback, they just recently went out and acquired Firebird. So
they got some good management over there.
They do have good management. They've been well run up until now. So they have the cash to deploy and buy assets at, sure, it's a big number, but it might make sense. So that's really all I've got, Stu. What do you have on your timeline, for tomorrow?
Well, one of the things, I was on the Mad Dog Trucking radio show today, and they had a trucker call in. He was Big Fat Daddy. And I was like, what a cool name to call in on. But he just filled up his truck with $1,300 to fill up his truck. Tell me that's not going to get passed on to the consumers when Christmas comes around for deliveries on their packages and stuff. Diesel is going to go up, guys.
Yeah. I mean, it's
gasoline
only going to make things more expensive. So just what I wanted to hear. So,
Merry Christmas.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, everybody. We're going to leave you with that. So appreciate everybody checking out. Have a good rest of your commute into the office. Hopefully it's a chill day. Your boss isn't all over you. Minimal meetings. You can skate by, have some cooler talk.
Be productive.
Yeah, with that, we're out of here, guys.
Have a great one.
See you tomorrow. Today's episode of the Energy Newsbeat podcast is brought to you by Inveris. The energy industry faces massive challenges every day, and the events over the last 2 years have caused huge disruptions like never before. Companies in the energy industry need actionable intelligence and a single source of truth that brings all the data together. Inveris is the energy specialized technology partner that provides intelligent connections for a global energy ecosystem. Only Inveris has the analytics, people, experience, and industry scope to connect the right data and information in the right way to discover missed opportunities and deliver fast outcomes. Find out more at Inveris.com. That's ENVERUS.com.